Hey everybody, welcome to another video. My name is Elena and I am a content creator or something like that here on YouTube. My main gig is being an online fitness and nutrition coach who specializes in hormones, metabolism, and fat loss, specifically helping people deal with weight loss resistance brought on by years of chronic dieting, stress, autoimmune disease, and gut issues. But I'm also a very avid paper planner girly, and it's one of the things that's really made a difference in how I manage my business day to day and how I just manage things like social media. And I was having a conversation in the comments with another creator here on YouTube, and she was struggling with her social media content. And I was like, well, do you know what you need from your social media content? And it got me thinking that I plan for 7 different outlets on a monthly basis, at least one piece of content per day for the majority of them. And I use a hybrid system of an Airtable database, but also using a physical checklist in my bullet journal to help me stay on track. And so I wanted to take some time today and show you guys how I marry the analog plus the digital. So let's first hop over to the digital side of things, where I'm showing you the Airtable database that has continued to evolve as the 2024 season has gone on, that allows me to house all of my media assets, all of the steps of the planning process. So if you're somebody who uses a paper planner and you need to find a more effective way to map out and plan your content, see where you're at in the process, but you also want to still be able to leverage your physical planner because you need to write down things in your physical planner, that's what we're going to take a look at today. So let's head over to the computer screen. Hey everyone, so we're going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and dive into what my Airtable looks like. So you'll see in here, this is my social media content for 2024, and I've got a tab for all of Q1. I have April and May, I have June, I have July, August, September. I've made a few updates to my marketing strategy. Now that I'm planning the way that I'm planning, I just like to have everything in its own month. And so this looks a little bit insane to start with. I plan for YouTube, podcast, not this YouTube channel, but my other YouTube channel, podcast, email marketing, Instagram, threads, TikTok, story posts on Instagram, a Facebook group. And then I also have, I think I said email marketing already. So yes, and then we're going to eventually be adding, likely going into October, also Pinterest. So we have a lot going on my business. I'm an online fitness and nutrition coach, specifically focusing in helping people optimize their hormones and metabolism through lifestyle nutrition and just no nonsense coaching and advice. So here's my master socials only, where you'll see I have this whole view, Instagram, threads, and TikTok. And this is what I was originally doing. So you'll notice that I've got my scheduling date, I've got the day of the week, and then this is where I typically type in the caption, the topic. So as I'm planning things out, I will sort of visually map out where things are going to go to start with. And I'll do a little bit of that in October to show you where that goes. Then I have to choose what platform this is going on, what content pillar it aligns with. These have since been updated. What is the post type? Is it like a reel or a TikTok? Is it a carousel? Is it Instagram Live, or is it a Threads post? Obviously, this has still gotten updated since we're doing more now. Post assets. So this is where the actual video file or visual files for photos will be there. If there's a lead magnet CTA from a podcast, thyroid guide, hormone quiz, labs review guide, nutrition and gut health review, recipe opt-in, or if it's just community engagement, call to action. A reel cover, because I do like to post reel covers on my reels for Instagram. The post status, if it's an idea, if it's in process, am I currently working on it and am I ready to post it? Then this ready means that this goes over to my assistant, who then can add any additional asset pieces to it. And then when she schedules it, she clicks post. So I do use this in conjunction with my assistant, Jackie. I'll collapse these in Airtable so you can see. In full disclosure, I do pay for Airtable. How I start with everything is I actually start with social media with Instagram, because this is my primary outlet. For example, in October, if I go to Instagram for October, I'm going to make sure I go to the date, and I'm going to go 10/1. And then what I'll map out here is, here the default is going to be an idea, because this is just where the status is at. It's an idea until otherwise noted. And I'm going to real quick check. The first day of October is a Tuesday. So I'm just going to roll Tuesday. Okay. So I know that Thursdays are for sure going to be a podcast. So this is going to be a podcast episode. Real. This is going to be pretty much every Thursday as well as Sunday. Tuesdays, I need to, in at least one of these days, I'm going to drop like a client win. So this is going to be a client win or a transformation or testimonial. I don't know what one specifically. So what I'll do when I do this initial outline, as I'm actually going into plan for October, I'll go into my folder that holds all of my screenshots from the previous like 1 to 2 weeks of client wins, client transformations, anything I want to highlight, and I'll drop in specifics of this client did this client did that, and that's what we'll talk about. I'm going to here do like a meal prep mini vlog. Those have been doing really well lately, and I like to post those at the beginning of the week, either Monday. Sometimes I will also post them on a Saturday. But here, what I want to do on a Friday is I also want to talk about, I want to do a training B-roll clip. And I don't know what I'm specifically going to talk about with training yet, but I want to see just the general idea. So these aren't specific ideas, these are general ideas. Here, I'm going to post something lifestyle, funny, relatable, on a Wednesday. And then Saturday, I want to make sure I drop a recipe. I do a lot of recipe carousel posts because those are, I feel like, the best medium to share recipes with like ingredients and like, this is the recipe, these are the ingredients, these are the instructions. So recipe carousel is going to go here. And this is about what a week is going to look like. What I also might do is I might duplicate this. And on Sunday, I'm also going to drop maybe a client win. Sometimes I do more than one post per day, but I am posting usually every day. And on Wednesday, I might decide I want to duplicate. This is a lifestyle funny, haha, relatable, but I also want to post a hot take, unpopular opinion, or do a reaction video, which are things that I'm needing to start doing. These are mostly all going to be reels. This is going to be a reel. Training B-roll clip is going to be a reel. This is going to be carousel. This is going to be a reel. If I did a client win and a reel, I'll do like a client win and a carousel later on that week. And sometimes I will take something that I posted as a carousel or a reel the month before and convert it into the opposite. So like if it did really well as a reel, we might take that and convert that topic or idea into a carousel post and vice versa. So we'll look and see what performed well the previous 30 days. And then meal prep mini vlog. Okay. And even, so that's like what I would do here. This is like going to be a reel. Although I loved actually doing carousel videos. So from my podcast, I'll take like 3 shorter clips and post it as a carousel versus like a longer reel. And then I'll put like a cute cover photo and then a CTA slide on the end. So if I'm doing maybe a real TikTok here, I'm going to do a carousel post for the podcast here. So that's where this is going to go. I don't know yet what these content pillars are going to be. My content pillars are nutrition for hormonal gut health, fitness strategies for metabolic health, lifestyle optimization for happy hormones, gut health and overall wellness, sustainable fitness for dummies because we like to overcomplicate things. And then authority/humble brags is like my client wins, my personal transformation, things like that. Or like aha moments, testimonials, stuff like that. That's like an authority building position. So what will happen here is once a post is ready to go, and then I decide obviously what does the lead magnet and CTA. Obviously the video gets posted here, the reel gets posted here, it gets marked here, any asset creation notes, or like if I have screenshots that need to go into a carousel, I'll upload those screenshots there. So I know that when I go back to make the reel or the carousel, I know what photos specifically to drop into that post asset, the post asset being the actual video or photos that are going to be uploaded. So that's what happens here. And this is where I primarily start with this. The thing that drives everything for the rest of the month, however, is the podcast. So for example, I've got 4 podcasts that I need to record for October, and those will get recorded during the first week of September. And I need to map out what the last 2 episodes are. And so episode 87 will be Fat Loss in Your 40s. So for example, today I'm recording this, it's Friday, August 30th. All of the September podcasts got recorded weeks ago and they're already scheduled and mapped out. Because what happens is from the video, I video and audio record the podcast. I take clips from that and that will drive these reels or TikToks, but sometimes I pull extra reels from the podcast that can be shared outside of the context of the podcast itself if it talks about a specific topic for that 60 to 90 seconds. Once this podcast overview is done, and again, this is where the platform, the post type, obviously this podcast audio. Hey, see, like I said, this has been expanded now. This is where the audio file gets uploaded, the cover photo, is it ready to go? And did it get posted or scheduled? So this is how we keep track of everything. Because if I tried to keep track of all of this in just my notebook, it would not go well. I can mark some things in my notebook, and you'll see that here in a second. I will show you my overview for what I know I need to do for October. But this drives everything. So for example, 10-3, 10-10, 10-17, 10-24, I know in email marketing, I'm going to have at the very least, this is going to be a podcast blast. So this means that the podcast announcement is going to get sent out to my whole audience. So audience, this is going to be all. And those are just my most used segments. So we're just going to copy paste this. An email pillar, this is going to be a sell. Anytime you're asking somebody to take action on an email to either click on the link or click on a podcast or follow this to something, that's a sell. Anytime I offer a resource or share a story, that's nurturing. And teaching would be sending informative information and or a resource, depending on the context, and that's a teaching opportunity. So I teach, nurture, and I sell on my email marketing. So this tells me too that when I look at my email, I need to make sure that I'm, for every sell that I'm doing, twice as many nurturing and teaching over the course of my email marketing. So over the course of September, when I'm planning October, I know I need to offer value and encouragement and resources to my community, because I don't just want to always ask them to follow a link or click on a podcast or share something to their stories. I need to make sure that I'm giving them reasons to stay in my community and that I'm giving them something of value because of their support. And that's valuable to me. So from here, we do the podcast, we map out the emailing, we map out Instagram. What happens here then? Let's say this, for example, this post is done. I will duplicate this for 10-1, and then this now gets shifted to, this is now TikTok. And then guess where it's going to show up? It's going to show up in the TikTok. So when my assistant is going through and she's checking to see where things are getting posted and what is getting posted across multiple platforms, she now has the caption and the description that's specific to TikTok, because you have to optimize your captions, your tags, and everything for the specific outlets. Or for example, if I have TikToks or Instagrams and they are longer than 60 seconds, they will not get put over to a YouTube short, because YouTube shorts are only 60 seconds. So YouTube shorts will typically be 60 seconds or shorter, and title and tags, all of that is different. And then the Facebook group is a little bit different. Facebook group, I typically cycle through 3 to 4 posts per week. And this is going to be, the post type is either going to be a viral question. So like a question that I can ask my community that they can respond and we can engage in. I'm sharing an educational video. Typically, this is clipped from the podcast as well. One of those clips that's going to be able to be a piece of information or a concept that will stand alone on its own. And it's not very long. It's maybe 3 minutes tops because people are busy. And then I will always post client wins in here just to celebrate the good things that my clients are doing, because they're all doing some really amazing things. And then community training is something that I'll do more on like a monthly basis. I'll determine what is our live training going to be this month in the Facebook community, and that's how that will work. And then what happens here is everything just gets sorted into its specific views. So for example, if I know that I'm sitting down to work on marketing and I need to figure out the rest of Instagram, I'm going to figure out the rest of Instagram first before I start converting it into TikToks and threads. And so if I'm posting a specific topic here in Instagram and I want to also duplicate this into threads, I then need to go to threads, open up this caption, and optimize the caption for threads, because it has a different set of rules than just posting into my Instagram feed. And so that's how I keep track of everything. There's no way that I could manage this on a piece of paper, because this also has a Kanban board specifically for the podcast and YouTube. The idea, is it scripted and outlined? Is it recorded? Editing E, editing J. This might be on my plate or my assistant's plate, depending on what point in the editing process it is. I do the final review of everything, and then I drop it over to be ready and finalized. This, however, doesn't mean that it's ready to post. This just means that the editing is done. Now Jackie can go in and she can update the description, the show notes, the cover photo, get it scheduled, things like that. So she'll do those finishing touches. So I've got on here, like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different outlets that I'm planning for each month. And there's just no way for me to do that on paper effectively, especially when I'm working with a team. It just needs to be housed somewhere. And then I have the benefit of, let's say something happens to my Instagram I have all of my photos and post assets. So like here's every single reel and carousel that I posted over the course of all of 2024, really. And I have one of these for 2023 as well. So if something happens to my social media, I'm not completely starting from scratch. I can bank on the fact that I can start putting content back out immediately. I do pay for Airtable so I can store everything and have the different automations and stuff in here. But this is why I really love using Airtable. And you can do a much more simple version of this. Like I said, if you just have social media to plan for, or if you just have YouTube to plan for, you literally just can create your own basic overview, scheduling date, the day of the week, the video title, topic ideas and notes, what is the caption and description. Obviously for you, you don't have multiple platforms, maybe, or maybe you have YouTube and Instagram. What is the status of the video, right? You can go in here, drop down and edit these to be whatever status makes sense for you. And then upload the video file, upload the transcription and subtitle file. What is the thumbnail? Is it ready to go? And did you schedule it? And this makes it a lot easier to keep everything in one place, because as much as I love my notebook, there's no way, there's too many moving parts when you're managing social media, especially if you're trying to grow social media. So this is the digital side of my social media management, just to give you a view. If you guys have any specific questions about how I created this, let me know and I can do some little tutorial videos. Also, I do pay for Airtable, so some of the things that I might be able to update and change within my Airtable might be different than what you have access to, but that doesn't mean that it's not worth doing. So just wanted to put that disclaimer out there. So let's go ahead and hop back over to the overhead, and I will show you what my checklist that I reference as I'm creating my weekly to-do list, what that actually looks like. Welcome to the overhead. So hopefully my Airtable database gave you some interesting ideas for how you could potentially manage your social media online. I personally really love Airtable. Like I said, it just allows me to actually not just map out the ideas and the captions, but also make sure that I can house the photos and the videos associated with it, as well as create Kanban boards so I can see where I'm at in every step of the process. So here, I'm going to give you a quick overview of my planner here. So first things first, you need to know, I basically just bullet journal in this. I will do a system overview this month. It's part of my plans for September. So if that video is live, I will link it down in the description below. Otherwise, just stay tuned for it, because my planning system doesn't really change whether I'm in this book or rings or another size. And I don't really use dated planners. I just use blank notebooks. So first things first, let's quick take a look at my September monthly, because we're about to go in September. And you'll see here I have A/B week rotations, where A weeks are no client calls and B weeks are yes client calls. So I have to, depending on the week of the month, focus on specific aspects of my marketing. So for example, the first week of September, I do a lot of the heavy lifting. So if I go to my weekly and I'm looking at next week for September, my October marketing is always going to be the podcast, outlining and recording, editing, outlining the emails for the month, starting to draft the emails, outlining social media for Instagram, which is what I showed you in Airtable, how I outline for the whole month, what is the rotation of ideas going through for Instagram. And then I start to put together social media assets. And that all happens within the first month. Doing this doesn't take me very long. The longest part of this whole process is actually recording the podcast and then doing just the final transcript overview of the podcast. That total will take me about 6 hours. Everything else combined will take me another 1 to 2 hours during the course of this week. So this is the big lift, and this is what will drive the rest of my marketing tasks. So let's map this out here. I actually have in here a page dedicated to October marketing, map and checklist. So in Airtable is where I actually see where everything is at. However, this tells me what is at a glance still open or incomplete. So for a quick update, my bullet journal signifiers is this is a task, this is a task that I've started, this is a task that I've completed. So it's very easy for me at a glance to see whether I've not started it, whether I've started it but not finished, and whether I've completed this. So You'll see here for the podcast, I've got outline, record, final edit. I did the 9x16 clips, which is what will go up on Instagram, Reels, TikToks, and YouTube Shorts. And then I have scheduled an email blast for this podcast. Instagram and TikTok, I want to make sure that I rotate through these 4 things that I'm doing client wins and posts, at least 1 per week, training vlogs, at least 1 per week, a gluten-free meal prep vlog or a mini vlog of some kind for meal prep, at least 1 per week, and at least 1 recipe carousel per week. So I can see at a bare minimum, this is what has to happen over the course of the week. Now, I do typically plan out more content than that, but if shit hits the fan, if life gets crazy, I need to make sure this is the bare minimum. Now, for YouTube, what we do is when I record the podcast, I record the audio, but I also record the video. We post the full episode, but then we pull 2 smaller 8 to 10 minute episodes from the larger episode. And so I need to make sure that I've reviewed the YouTube videos for each podcast episode and that they are finalized and good to go. Once this is checked off complete, this means that the descriptions, the thumbnail, and everything can be finalized and the video can be scheduled and uploaded. My goal for October is to do 2 additional videos that aren't related specifically to the podcast. I tried to do this in September, but the videos turned out so bad, so I was not able to use them. I need to get a teleprompter. I really do, because for some of these videos, they're a little bit more structured, a little bit more scripted, and I just need an easier way to record this information because I will otherwise go off on tangents, which is really what the podcast is for. The podcast doesn't get a script, it just gets a general outline, and then I can kind of ad-lib in between. Then for emails, like I said, I want to make sure, not including the podcast blast, that I'm doing at least nurturing, teaching, and selling. So you'll notice that I have 4 selling points here. This is where I'm actually asking my audience to do something. Maybe it is asking them to sign up for coaching. Maybe it's asking them to opt into a lead magnet. Maybe it's inviting them to book a 15-minute goal-setting call with me. But I want to make sure that I'm nurturing my audience and teaching my audience and offering them value and resources in addition to these selling emails. So I'm always making sure I double down on nurturing and teach, and I want to make sure that I schedule these and map these out. So as I'm visually going through my Airtable and I'm planning out the remaining emails for October outside of the podcast blasts, which are technically selling emails, like I said, I want to make sure that I'm scheduling one for the first week, the second week, the third week, the 4 weeks. When I go into the second week of October, so let's say all of this gets done during the second week of October, I can flip the page and I know that I'm going to put marketing because I'm doing marketing tasks on a weekly basis, but this is a call week for me. So I need to do my marketing in the context of the fact that I'm probably going to have about 10 to 12 hours of client calls scheduled over the course of the week, in addition to my regular check-ins and feedback and case studies for my clients, that as I'm looking at this and I'm looking at the marketing tasks, that I'm pulling in specifically, okay, I need to finish Instagram and other social media. I need to finish reviewing the final 2 episodes for the YouTube videos so they can go to final edits. And I can say specifically, what am I going to work on that I will actually have time for in the context of this. Then when we get to this week, this is another A week where there's minimal client calls. And this is where I'll do the heavy lifting to make sure that anything that's still in this incomplete status gets done and off my to-do list, because the final week of the month is when I do my EverFit calendars, which is where I literally go through every single client calendar, review, update their training, update their task calendar, update their habits going into the following month, and make sure that everything's loaded correctly. And this is the primary function. So I get roughly in the first 3 weeks of the month, I get about 150 to 170 different pieces of content done. Some of it is repurposed from other platforms, so they're not doing twice the amount of work. And that way I have time at the end of the month to make sure that I'm checking in and wrapping everybody up from the previous month to move them into the next month. This is also really helpful if I have new clients starting at the beginning of the month, because I can start gathering all their information for onboarding here. It takes me a little bit longer to set up a brand new client than it does a current client. So I need to make sure that I get all my marketing done in week 1, week 2, week 3, final review and push of everything here so that this week is free and clear for me to really focus and fine tune my client work for their actual programs, which is what they hire me to do. So that is how I marry this marketing checklist in conjunction with the finer details in the Airtable database. So that is pretty much it of how I leverage Airtable as well as my bullet journal to help just keep tabs on what's happening week over week and where I'm at in the process of all of my marketing assets that I create for my fitness and nutrition coaching business. This is really very important because my business is completely online and it's a key component when you are a sort of solopreneur plus one or two assistants that are helping you virtually in the online world. Always keep in mind is that your paper planner is great and it can be an amazing tool and it can be very powerful. But in today's day and age, when especially for social media marketing, there's a higher level of effort and attention to detail required to really truly grow a channel and make it something that gets really good engagement. It requires sometimes using some additional tools and learning how to implement those so you can see on a more granular level where you are at with everything. So thanks so much for tuning in today, you guys. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button. I am really, really excited because we're almost at 600 subscribers, and what I'm starting to do is plan a little bit more intentionally for my videos each month, and I'm very much looking forward to that. In September, I will be posting a planner flip as well as this social media video, which if you're watching it, hey, thanks so much for being here. I'm also going to share my thoughts on 2025 and also do a bit of a deep dive on the core components of my planning system, because if you guys have been around for a while, you know I'm a bit of a chronic planner hopper and I will use whatever book my heart desires, but there is no guilt because I'm basically either using a rings planner or a completely blank notebook. But as I switch from book to book, a lot of things don't change and they stay pretty much the same. So thanks again so much, you guys, for tuning in. Smash that like button, hit subscribe. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments down below, and I'll catch you on the next one.